Hi y'all, my name is Becca. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. Today, we are going to share the things that I wish I knew before labor and delivery. Now, I do actually want to do the same video as this, but for things I wish I knew regarding like the postpartum 4th trimester, as well as things I wish I knew regarding breastfeeding. So definitely be sure to subscribe so you can see those as well. But I see a lot of videos that new moms tend to do regarding things they wish they knew or things that people didn't tell them to expect regarding things about being a new mother, of course. So I figured I would start it out, of course, with labor and delivery. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss another video. Comment below and let me know other videos you want to see here, or let me know things that you wish you knew regarding going into labor and delivery for the first time, and we will get right into this one. All right, so I wrote down 6 things. The first one is actually, I didn't expect this at all, but a big thing was that some doctors and even midwives will pressure you so much for things, different interventions such as a C-section. It is kind of crazy and I really didn't expect that. But there was a midwife, she was not the midwife the one that I wanted to deliver me. She actually was kind of mean, just being honest. She was the only one at the whole practice I did not like. But she kept coming in and there were like 3 different times. She was like, okay, like you're gonna end up having a C-section. Like she'd come in and be like, I'm gonna check you, but you're probably gonna have a C-section. And then when I would start in like the delivery room, she was like, you can try to push, but like you're probably gonna have a C-section. Like we're probably gonna have an emergency C-section. And it was just one thing that I really didn't expect, and I think that it definitely could scare a lot of new moms into not even trying to have a natural delivery, if that makes sense. So I just didn't expect it, and it kind of was just kind of like, I don't know, like it definitely kind of freaked me out at the worst time to freak me out at, because I was like, no, I don't want to have a C-section. So it was definitely weird that I kind of almost was like pressured into it multiple times. Another thing I didn't expect and didn't realize is that as they're doing different interventions, they don't necessarily tell you they're doing it, and they definitely don't ask permission or like, you know, just let you know it's happening. I had a vacuum birth and an episiotomy, and neither of those things were told to me that they were happening until like after they were happening. Like I didn't realize that there was a vacuum until a point in our delivery where it popped off of his head and like blood splattered everywhere. I didn't know before that there even was a vacuum helping. And then I also didn't know that she did the episiotomy until like it happened, because I didn't feel it, but it was like you can feel, even though it wasn't painful, I could feel it happen. So it was like I didn't even know that it was going to happen, and because I didn't want one, you know, I know that some cases they're necessary, but statistically they're not necessary, and they don't increase like they don't decrease any risks of mortality or anything like that. So most like health organizations don't support the use of them at all. So I just wish that I had been told it was going to happen before, because that really affected my recovery. Another thing that I wish I knew is that technically you don't have to have that really painful uterine massage that they do to you literally every like hour the entire time you're in the hospital after birth. Most places don't do that in other countries. Like I believe Australia, and I think also like European countries that have it more common to have a midwife, they only do uterine massage when it's needed, aka if the mother is bleeding more than usual or hemorrhaging, it is needed. But if the mother's having completely normal bleeding, it's not a necessity. And pretty much every hospital seems that that's part of like what they do. But I didn't know that you technically don't have to say okay to everything that they do. You can be like, hey, if my bleeding is normal, I don't want this. And I wish I knew that, because next time I do think I'm gonna just be like, hey, wait a second, like I want to refuse this if I'm bleeding normal. Like if I don't need this, I don't want it, because it was so painful like every single hour. Another thing that was weird that I had no idea about was like the shakes that you get during labor and delivery. I didn't have them during, but directly after, right after he was born, it was like uncontrollable shaking, and it was so weird because I wasn't cold, but like my whole body was just shaking, and it totally freaked my husband out, and I just didn't expect it. I knew that you could get it from an epidural, like based on like when you're still laboring, but I didn't realize that like after delivery that was like a big thing. Another thing I wish I knew and prepared for was the fact that you're never going to get a break from the nurses. Most hospitals, at least where I'm from, do not do nurseries anymore. So your baby is with you 24/7. You don't get a break in that kind of way to sleep. So it's like you want to sleep when your baby sleeps, because, you know, if they're awake, you're obviously awake. They're in the same room as you. However, at least every single hour, your nurse is in doing the baby's vitals and your vitals. And there's no way to sleep through that. It is horrible. It really, that was, I think, one of the big things that took a big toll on me, was just that I never got to have just some time by myself, because they're not helping you either. They're not like, oh, I'll hold the baby for you. Obviously, they can't take it to a nursery. They're not helping you. So I'd rather just be like, hey, I don't want the freaking constant heart rate, BP, temperature every single hour. It was, that was like one of the very worst parts, honestly. And the last thing kind of going along with that is the fact that the pressure on breastfeeding can really make you not want to do it, especially in such a fragile state that you're kind of in. You're in a very vulnerable state right after you give birth, and it's like not only are the nurses in every hour, but they are like pressuring you. They'll come in and be like, oh, did you feed the baby yet? And it's like they make you feel like no matter what, you have to be feeding that baby every 2 hours on the dot. They have to have eaten, and they'll sit there and watch you, and like it's so weird. And to be honest, that's not even the case. Your baby will eat when they want to eat, and your milk hasn't come in. You're only giving them colostrum. And they just give you so much pressure when it's not even a time to really do so yet. It can take a while for you to really establish the breastfeeding relationship, and your baby isn't going to necessarily just eat every single hour. Some babies come out cluster feeders. Some babies do not. My baby didn't want to eat like that all the time in the very, very beginning. And you know what? He is a nice, big, chunky boy. So he obviously turns out fine. I'm glad I stuck it out, but they really made me feel like a total failure while I was in the hospital, because there was all these expectations on breastfeeding that really are unrealistic. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick little video on just kind of things that people didn't really warn me about, or that I wish I knew going into labor and delivery. If you do like this video, give it a thumbs up, and let me know down below things that you wish you knew as well. It's always great to help out other people that are going to be going into labor and delivery. Again, I probably am going to do one for like the 4th trimester, like postpartum, and I think I'm going to do one for breastfeeding as well. So be sure to stick around so you don't miss those videos. Let me know some other ones you want to see below, and we will see you guys in my next video. Up there. Hi. Say goodbye. He doesn't care.